Have you ever stopped to think about the transformative power that exists in words whispered in intimacy? We're not just talking about the physical aspect of a relationship, but about that subtle dance between two souls who connect in the most vulnerable and authentic moment they can share. It's in this sacred space that deep truths emerge about who we really are and about the patterns we carry in our hearts. Napoleon Hill, in his genius, always taught us that our thoughts create our reality. And what if I told you that in intimacy, especially through the words a woman chooses to express, we can find some of the most powerful keys to masculine transformation? This isn't about manipulation or psychological games, but rather about an authentic communication that touches upon the deepest emotional needs of a human being. When a woman whispers, "I trust you," during an intimate moment, she isn't just expressing physical trust. She is offering the man something that many have never properly received: the validation of his ability to protect, care, and provide emotional leadership. For many men, this phrase awakens something ancestral, a primal need to be seen as trustworthy and safe. It's as if decades of insecurities are momentarily suspended by those four simple words. What's interesting is that this connects directly with the thought patterns Napoleon Hill identified in great leaders. External trust awakens internal confidence. When a man feels he is genuinely trusted in his partner's eyes, especially in that moment of maximum vulnerability, something reorganizes in his psyche. The patterns of self-doubt begin to dissolve, giving way to a more solid and centered self-esteem. But there's a subtlety here that needs to be understood. We're not talking about superficial validation or empty words spoken just to please. Authenticity is fundamental. A woman who is truly present, who connects with herself and her own vulnerability, naturally expresses words that resonate with depth. It's as if she becomes a mirror where the man can see not only his fears, but also his unexplored potential. "You make me feel safe" is another expression that carries immense transformative weight. We live in a society where many men grew up questioning their ability to protect, not just physically, but emotionally. When a woman expresses this feeling of safety, she is offering the man an opportunity to reconnect with his protective essence in a healthy and balanced way. This leads us to a deep reflection on emotional healing. Many men carry wounds related to rejection, inadequacy, or failure to offer protection and care. These wounds often manifest as limiting thought patterns. "I'm not good enough. I can't make anyone happy. I always disappoint the people I love." Genuine intimacy, seasoned with conscious and loving words, becomes a healing laboratory where these patterns can be gently undone. Male self-love, a topic often neglected in our culture, finds fertile ground in this dynamic. When a man experiences total acceptance and genuine appreciation in his most vulnerable moment, he begins to develop a more compassionate relationship with himself. It's as if her words become the loving inner voice he never had or lost along the way through life's challenges. Napoleon Hill spoke about the power of a positive mental environment. Intimacy, when cultivated with consciousness and love, creates exactly that environment. It's a space where limiting thoughts have no power, where vulnerability is celebrated, and where personal growth happens naturally and organically. "I feel complete with you." These words touch on something even deeper. They speak directly to the masculine need to feel useful, valued, and capable of contributing to the happiness of someone special. This isn't about emotional dependency, but rather the recognition that, together, you create something greater than the sum of your individual parts. There is a profound difference between toxic masculinity and authentic masculinity, and it is in emotional intimacy that this distinction becomes clearest. When a woman says, "Show me who you really are," she is inviting the man to drop his social masks and connect with his true essence. This invitation is revolutionary because it goes against decades of social conditioning that taught men that vulnerability is weakness. Napoleon Hill always emphasized the importance of genuine self-confidence versus superficial bravado. In intimacy, when a woman expresses, "I love when you let go," she is signaling that true masculine strength lies in the ability to be authentic, not in rigid control or performance. This creates a safe space where the man can explore aspects of himself that may have been repressed for years. Masculine emotional healing necessarily involves this process of rediscovery. Many men grew up believing they needed to be invulnerable, perfect providers, always in control of their emotions. When a partner whispers, "It's beautiful to see you like this," referring to a moment of genuine surrender, she is giving him permission to explore a more complete version of himself. This leads us to understand how thought patterns are formed and transformed. The male brain, conditioned since childhood to associate personal value with performance and control, receives completely new information. You are valuable exactly as you are, especially when you allow yourself to be vulnerable. This neural reprogramming happens subtly but powerfully, creating new neural pathways that support a healthier self-image. "You inspire me" is a phrase that touches the heart of the masculine need for purpose. Every man wants to know that his existence makes a difference, that his presence in the world has meaning. When a woman expresses inspiration, she is acknowledging not just what he does, but who he is. This awakens what Napoleon Hill called a definite chief aim, a clear sense of purpose and direction in life. The process of male self-love is often blocked by patterns of severe self-criticism. Men tend to be their own harshest critics, constantly comparing themselves to impossible standards of perfection. When a woman says, "You are exactly what I need," she is offering a different mirror, one that reflects adequacy, sufficiency, and inherent worth. It's fascinating how these words act as catalysts for personal growth. This isn't about external emotional dependence, but about creating a more nourishing internal environment. When a man internalizes these messages of acceptance and appreciation, he develops a more compassionate inner voice. Gradually, destructive self-criticism gives way to a more balanced and constructive internal dialogue. True intimacy requires total presence, and this teaches valuable lessons about mindfulness and awareness. "I feel you completely present" is a phrase that acknowledges and reinforces this essential quality. In a world of constant distractions, the ability to be truly present becomes a superpower, not just in intimacy, but in all aspects of life. The concept of emotional leadership that Napoleon Hill advocated for gains a new dimension in this context. When a woman expresses, "I feel safe to be vulnerable with you," she is acknowledging his emotional leadership, not as domination, but as the ability to create a safe space where both can grow and transform. There is something profoundly healing in being seen and accepted in our totality. "I love all of your parts," including the imperfections, the fears, the insecurities, offers an experience of unconditional love that many men have never experienced. This breaks the pattern of thinking they need to hide certain parts of themselves to be loved. The transformation happens when these experiences of acceptance begin to alter the internal narrative. The man starts to see himself through the eyes of someone who genuinely loves him, not despite his imperfections, but including them as part of his beautiful and complex humanity. This change in perspective is fundamental to developing a solid and authentic self-esteem. "You teach me about true strength" is a phrase that completely redefines the masculine understanding of power. It's not about brute force or control, but the courage to be vulnerable, the strength to love unconditionally, the ability to create emotional safety for another human being. This redefinition is revolutionary and deeply transformative. There is a subtle magic that happens when someone is truly seen in their deepest essence. Napoleon Hill spoke of the magnetic power of personality, but we rarely explore how this magnetism is awakened through genuine recognition. When a woman whispers, "You know me like no one else," she is offering something that goes far beyond simple validation. She is acknowledging his unique ability to see beyond the surface, to understand nuances, to create a real connection. This recognition awakens a quality in the man that may have been dormant: emotional intuition. Many men have been conditioned to distrust their natural sensitivity, to ignore subtle signs, to prioritize the rational over the emotional. When a partner acknowledges his capacity for deep understanding, it liberates a part of his intelligence that may have been suppressed for years. Masculine emotional healing often involves reconnecting with this natural sensitivity. "You feel everything I feel" is a phrase that validates masculine empathy, a quality often overlooked in traditional standards of masculinity. This validation allows the man to integrate more complete aspects of his personality, creating a fuller and more authentic version of himself. Limiting thought patterns often include the belief that expressing sensitivity is a sign of weakness. When a woman expresses admiration for his empathetic ability, it creates a healthy cognitive dissonance that can lead to the transformation of these patterns. The brain needs to reconcile the new information. My sensitivity is valuable and attractive, with old beliefs, and usually the new information, especially when charged with positive emotion, prevails. "You make me want to be my best version" is a statement that touches on the fundamental need to inspire and elevate. Every human being has a divine spark that desires to contribute to the growth and happiness of others. When a man hears that his presence inspires growth, it activates a deep sense of purpose and meaning. Self-love develops naturally when we begin to see ourselves as positive catalysts in the lives of others. This change in perspective is fundamental. Instead of seeing himself only as someone who needs to be loved and accepted, the man begins to recognize himself as someone capable of offering love and inspiration. This shift in focus is transformative and aligns perfectly with Napoleon Hill's principles of contribution and service. Presence is a quality that is cultivated through practice and recognition. "When you're here, nothing else matters" is a phrase that celebrates the quality of total attention. In a world fragmented by technology and multiple demands, the ability to be completely present becomes a rare and precious gift. This total presence creates a special energetic field where both partners can experience expanded states of consciousness. It's as if time expands, external worries dissolve, and only the present moment exists. These experiences of total presence are profoundly healing and leave positive marks on the male psyche. "You teach me about surrender" is a phrase that acknowledges a masculine wisdom that is often uncelebrated. True surrender requires a specific form of strength, not the strength of control, but the strength of trust. When a woman recognizes this ability, she is validating a form of leadership that is simultaneously powerful and receptive. Personal growth accelerates when we have positive mirrors that reflect our highest potential. "I see the extraordinary man that you are" acts as a decree of possibility. It's not about ego inflation, but about recognizing authentic capabilities that may be underutilized or unknown. There is a crucial difference between superficial compliments and deep recognition. When a woman sees and articulates specific qualities: "I love how you listen to me. You have a unique way of calming me down. Your strength is gentle," she is offering valuable information about the positive impact he has. This information becomes part of a richer and more empowered personal narrative. True intimacy becomes a laboratory of self-discovery where both partners can explore unexplored aspects of their personalities. "You awaken things in me I didn't know existed" is an exchange of mutual recognition. She is saying that he has the power to reveal deep layers of her femininity, while simultaneously offering him the opportunity to discover unexplored aspects of his own capacity to inspire and transform. There is a beautiful paradox at the heart of true masculinity. The most powerful strength is born from conscious vulnerability. Napoleon Hill intuited this truth when he spoke of the courage needed to face our deepest fears. In intimacy, when a woman whispers, "I love when you allow yourself to be fragile," she is giving permission for one of the most transformative experiences a man can have: the integration of his fragility as a source of authentic power. This reversal of values, fragility as strength, requires a complete reprogramming of masculine mental patterns. Society teaches that men should be unshakable rocks, but true intimacy reveals that the most precious stones are those that allow light to pass through their cracks. When a woman recognizes and celebrates this transparency, she is healing generational wounds of male emotional isolation. "You don't have to be perfect with me," is a revolutionary phrase that frees a man from the prison of constant performance. How many men live exhausted, trying to maintain a facade of absolute competence? This simple declaration of acceptance creates a sacred space where a man can let his guard down and discover that he is loved not for his performance, but for his genuine humanity. The process of male self-love takes on a whole new dimension when this acceptance of imperfection is internalized. The internal dialogue, once dominated by relentless self-criticism, begins to incorporate tones of compassion and understanding. "It's okay to be human" becomes a message that echoes internally, gradually replacing patterns of destructive self-demand. Deep emotional healing occurs when a man can experience unconditional love in his moments of greatest vulnerability. "I love you especially when you're lost" is a statement that completely challenges male social programming. Traditionally, men learned they must have all the answers, always know the way, never show uncertainty. This phrase offers something revolutionary: love precisely in the moments of not knowing. This acceptance of uncertainty and searching is fundamental to authentic personal growth. Napoleon Hill always emphasized the importance of questioning, exploring, being willing to learn. When a man can be vulnerable about his doubts and insecurities, he opens himself up to possibilities for growth that were impossible while maintaining the mask of absolute certainty. "Your sensitivity moves me" is another phrase that reconnects a man with aspects of his nature that may have been abandoned in childhood. Boys often learn to suppress tears, to harden their hearts, to build emotional walls. When a woman expresses that his sensitivity is not only acceptable, but moving and attractive, it allows for a deep reconnection with the totality of male emotion. The integration of sensitivity as a strength, not a weakness, completely transforms the masculine experience of being in the world. A man who embraces his ability to feel deeply becomes more intuitive, more creative, more capable of authentic connections. His natural leadership softens, becoming magnetic instead of imposing. "You teach me about true courage" recognizes that the greatest courage is not in facing external dangers, but in allowing oneself to be seen and known completely. This courage of emotional intimacy is different from the physical courage traditionally celebrated. It is the courage to remove the armor, to admit fears, to express needs, to ask for help when necessary. Personal growth accelerates dramatically when a man develops this emotional courage. Relationships deepen, creativity flourishes, life purpose becomes clearer. All of this because he is no longer spending energy maintaining facades, but can direct that energy toward authentic growth and contribution. "I trust your journey" is a declaration that offers space for the process of male self-discovery. Many men feel pressure to have everything figured out, to always be progressing linearly. This phrase acknowledges that real growth is cyclical, that sometimes we need to step back to move forward, that the journey has its own rhythm and wisdom. Trust in the process, especially when validated by someone significant, allows a man to develop a more patient and compassionate relationship with himself. He can honor his natural rhythms, his moments of expansion and contraction, his periods of clarity and confusion, knowing that all of it is part of a larger, more meaningful evolution. There is a magical moment in a man's life when he understands that his true strength lies not in what he achieves, but in what he awakens in others. Napoleon Hill dedicated his entire life to studying this transformative principle. Great leaders are those who elevate the humanity around them. In intimacy, when a woman whispers, "You make me believe in myself," she is acknowledging this sacred capacity to be a catalyst for positive transformation. This revelation is profoundly healing for the male psyche because it connects a man with his highest purpose. Many men spend years seeking meaning in external achievements, accumulation of resources, social recognition. But when they discover that their loving presence can awaken the best in another person, they find a source of purpose that is inexhaustible and deeply satisfying. "You teach me how to love myself" is a phrase that reveals the transformative power of a conscious masculine presence. It's not about ego or superiority, but about recognizing that Through his unique way of loving, seeing, and accepting, a man can become a mirror that reflects back the beauty and worth that a woman might not have been able to see in herself. This ability to be a loving mirror is one of the highest forms of emotional leadership. Male self-love expands exponentially when a man understands his power to heal. It ceases to be just about accepting himself and becomes about recognizing the positive impact his essence can have on the world. This change in perspective, from a passive recipient of love to an active agent of transformation, completely revolutionizes self-esteem and a sense of personal worth. Limiting thought patterns often include beliefs about inadequacy. I'm not good enough. I have nothing special to offer. I don't make a difference in anyone's life. When a woman expresses how much his presence positively impacts her life, these beliefs begin to dissolve naturally. The living proof of his transformative power becomes stronger than the old narratives of inadequacy. "With you, I feel invincible," is a declaration that touches on the deep masculine need to be a source of strength and inspiration. It's not about creating dependency, but about recognizing that certain human connections awaken our highest potential. When a man knows that his presence inspires courage and confidence, it activates aspects of his personality that might have remained dormant. Masculine emotional healing often involves rediscovering the pleasure of protecting and nurturing, not through control or possessiveness, but by creating safe spaces where others can flourish. "I feel free to be myself with you" acknowledges this masculine capacity to create safe emotional containers where authenticity can emerge without fear of judgment or rejection. Personal growth takes on a dimension of service when a man understands that his inner development is not just for his own benefit, but directly impacts his ability to contribute positively to the lives of others. This understanding transforms inner work from an egocentric project into a mission of love and service. "You awaken the woman I want to be" is a phrase that reveals how a conscious masculine presence can be a catalyst for female evolution. When a man understands this power, he develops a much more reverent and responsible relationship with his own energy. He understands that his way of being in the world, his words, his actions, his energetic field, all of it can inspire growth and transformation. Napoleon Hill always emphasized that true success lies in helping others achieve their goals. In emotional intimacy, this translates into celebrating and nurturing the partner's growth. "You inspire me to be brave" acknowledges this masculine ability to encourage, to believe in the potential of another, even when that person doesn't believe in themselves. The transformation of thought patterns accelerates when a man develops an identity based on contribution rather than just reception. He begins to ask himself not only, "Am I loved?" but "How can I love better?" Not just, "Am I valued?" but "How can I add more value?" This shift in focus creates an upward spiral of growth and fulfillment. "Your strength calms me" is a phrase that recognizes the masculine capacity to be an emotional safe harbor. Not through the repression or denial of emotions, but through the ability to remain centered and present even in the midst of emotional storms. This quality of stable and loving presence is profoundly healing and inspiring. The masculine inner mission becomes clear when he understands that his personal evolution is inseparable from his ability to serve. His work of self-knowledge, emotional healing, and spiritual development becomes not just a personal project, but a preparation to be a more effective instrument of love and transformation in the world. We have reached the culmination of this journey of discovery, where all previous revelations integrate into a deep understanding of the rebirth of the sacred masculine. Napoleon Hill, in his more advanced studies, began to realize that there is a spiritual dimension to human development that transcends material achievements. In conscious intimacy, when a woman whispers, "You awaken my soul," she is acknowledging this masculine capacity to touch sacred dimensions of the human experience. This is perhaps the most profound transformation that can occur in the male psyche, the understanding that he is not just a physical body seeking pleasure or a strategic mind seeking success, but an evolving soul capable of awakening other souls to their magnificence. When a man integrates this truth, his entire relationship with himself and the world transforms radically. "You connect me to the sacred" is a declaration that elevates the masculine experience beyond conventional categories of relationship. It recognizes that, through his loving and conscious presence, a man can become a bridge between the mundane and the transcendent. This ability to facilitate sacred experiences through human love is one of the highest forms of service that exists. Emotional healing reaches its peak when a man understands that his wounds, properly integrated, become portals of wisdom and compassion. "Your vulnerability is your greatest strength" is not just a comforting phrase, but a profound spiritual truth. The experiences of pain, when processed with awareness, develop a unique capacity to understand and welcome the suffering of others. Limiting thought patterns begin to dissolve completely when a man develops a solid spiritual identity. He stops seeing himself merely as a separate individual trying to survive and thrive, and begins to recognize himself as a unique expression of the universal masculine principle, a creative, protective, and transformative force operating through his individual personality. Self-love reaches its most mature expression when it includes reverence for one's own spiritual mission. "You have a special light" acknowledges that every man carries a unique spark of the divine, a specific contribution that only he can offer to the world. This understanding completely transforms one's relationship with self-esteem, no longer based on comparisons or external achievements, but on the recognition of his sacred uniqueness. "With you, I touch the infinite" is a phrase that recognizes the masculine ability to facilitate expanded states of consciousness through love. When a man understands that his conscious presence can elevate his partner to transcendent experiences, he develops a sacred responsibility for his own inner evolution. His personal growth becomes an act of love and service. The final integration happens when the man understands that all seemingly contradictory qualities, strength and vulnerability, leadership and receptivity, power and tenderness, are not opposites that need to be balanced, but complementary aspects of his totality that can be expressed simultaneously. "You are powerful and gentle at the same time" celebrates this harmonious integration. Napoleon Hill intuited that true leaders are those who develop a synthesis between different aspects of human nature. In conscious intimacy, a man learns to be simultaneously a warrior and a poet, a protector and a nurturer, a master and a disciple. This integrated multiplicity is what characterizes the mature and spiritually developed masculine. "You teach me about true love" is perhaps the most transformative phrase of all, because it recognizes that through his journey of self-discovery and healing, the man has become a master of love, not through techniques or strategies, but through the authenticity one in the midst of his own inner storms. The rebirth is complete when the man understands that everything he has lived, his joys and pains, successes and failures, moments of clarity and periods of confusion, were necessary experiences to sculpt his unique capacity to love and serve. "Your journey made you who you needed to be" acknowledges the divine perfection of his development process. The final transformation is the understanding that true intimacy is a spiritual path. Every moment of authentic connection is an opportunity for growth, healing, and awakening. Every word whispered in the dark carries the potential for inner revolution. Every look of mutual recognition is a reminder that we are so much more than we ever imagined ourselves to be. Thus, the man who integrates these understandings not only transforms himself, but becomes an agent of transformation. His presence in the world begins to radiate a quality that awakens the best in the people around him. He becomes, as Napoleon Hill envisioned, a living example that it is possible to live from our highest potential, creating waves of inspiration that spread far beyond our personal sphere of influence. This is the true alchemy of words, whispered in intimacy. They not only heal and transform, but they awaken the sacred masculine in all its regenerative magnificence.